Hello, this is going to be a brief philosophical lecture. Um, it's about the title is the entire universe just inverted Qualia up into philosophical zombies, frontal lobes or prefrontal cortex. So, excuse me. It's a question of basically what it means for quantum morphomatics and quantum morphology to really permeate emanationistically throughout the webbed existence of all the omniverses known to humankind. So it's a question of where does all this information, this Platonic structure. Now, when most people say, well, dream up an abstract object, they can visualize a geometric shape, such as a sphere or a triangle or even a rhomboid. But the question is, why does mathematical structure even seem to epiphenomenally produce higher levels of abstract structure at all, meta-ontologically? So the question really becomes the notion of what it means to challenge the notion that philosophical objects or abstract objects need structure in order to subsist and exist across every possible world. And the notion that everything that exists in this universe is essentially inverted qualia, or qualia with swapped aletheological values that don't normally match it in an indiscernible tautological sense. Well, if everything in the universe was basically kaleidoscopic champagne supernova of stupefying quadratic lesions of Brahman and the Upanishads and the Quran and the Qibla all woven into one, well, what would that tell you? It would tell you that you can have all the mysticism in the entire omniverse, but what does it reveal about the completeness, the incompleteness of all these mechanical systems that seem to guide philosophical virtues and thoughts themselves to exist and persist and ontologize? So, I think it becomes a question basically of why do abstract objects exist rather than not exist at the omniversal level? And that to me is truly a question of what it means to bequeath all possible existences from either a prime mover that was conscious or an infinite regress of eternities and that seem to not really explain why they exist rather than not exist. And that in itself is an aspect of the Godelian incompleteness. And this brief philosophical lecture will also explore, well, what is the really quanta that composes the qualia dreamed up by the gigantic omniversal Zangazi butterfly or philosophical zombie dream in the universe? Like, where does all this qualia sense datum, if like the laws of physics in this universe are sense datum or motor neuron correlates, then it's a very interesting candid virtue of what it means to be a neural epistemologist. So I certainly think finally that the very notion of what it means to be a philosophical visionary may simply be looking at a perspective from all cross-synthetic angles and never stopping until one becomes voluptuously imaginative in all their metaphysical endeavors. So I think that the question could be true or it could not be true. It's impossible to objectively know for sure, much in the Cartesian daimonic sense, if everything that exists in this universe is thus dreamed up only by philosophical zombies homunculi or homunculization. And that to me really begets the notion of what it means to be a critical synthetic or analytic if all statements really go back to just one Cartesian theater of an unknown, enigmatic, gigantic, omniversal being, whether it's in the pantheistic sense or panentheistic sense, transcending the universe or remaining contingently and as rigid designator in some worlds within it. Well, I think that's complex, and it breeds the notion of how many kinds of eternities that can ever flourish, too, as well, and what it means to be a true philosophical soothsayer in the 21st century. So, how many kinds of flavors of eternity are there? How many kinds of flavors of abstraction are there? And must eternity always be abstract? Must abstraction always be eternal? Well, I hope you enjoy this philosophical lecture, and please let me know, like, in if you ever get to see me or talk to me one day, about what you think about the notion of everything being dreamed up by the amphitheater and the neurons, dockets by the philosophical zombie hypothesis that I alluded to. Anyways, thank you so much, and bye.